The Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return.
So, Chris, is it Smith? Chris Smith?
Yeah.
Okay. Chris Smith, thank you for being on the podcast today. And thank you for being willing to share your story. Not everybody is, because I know that we're going to talk about a time in your life, which you might want to forget sometimes. But, I think it's important because I think whenever someone such as yourself tells their story on the podcast, it resonates with somebody who listens. And our hope is that either they get into treatment, or if they have a loved one that is addicted, that they get their loved one into treatment. So I really appreciate you being willing to share your story.
I appreciate you guys having me here to do this. So
absolutely. So how did you get started on drugs? I read a little bit about it in the intro, and it was pretty scary, but you didn't start with heroin, did you?
No. So my mom, my dad had left when I was 5, and my mom raised me and my mom and my grandmother, but my grandmother has severe mental health issues. So my mom basically raised me, my younger sister, my older sister, and my grandmother. And when she met my stepdad, they moved out to this place in Virginia called Sterling Park. And I think I was 11. And within 2 weeks, I had met a kid riding my bike, a neighborhood kid. And, we would duck off and go smoke cigarettes. And by the time it was before I was 12, there was another kid in the neighborhood whose older brother was smoking weed. And I wanted to smoke. The older kids did it. I was new, and I wanted to smoke. And they were like, "No, dude, you're 11." So I kind of pissed them off and made them let me. And I took a gravity bong hit for the first thing I ever did in my life. Minus when I was 6, I was prescribed Ritalin, Dexedrine, Adderall, Wellbutrin, all that stuff. But as far as abuse goes, I smoked weed at 11. And that was kind of what started everything.
Were you still taking Adderall and
no, I was
those?
selling them though. No, I was selling them. By the time I was 10, I started realizing older kids want these, and I started selling them.
Right.
So
because while they calm you down as a young kid, once you reach puberty, they have a tendency to speed someone up. So okay. Well, your career started early. Sorry for interrupting. You can keep going.
So I mean, it was I remember when I took this gravity bong hit, I ended up passing out, like bent over the arm of a couch. And when everything was said and done, I was like, I want to do that again. And it was kind of, I guess it would have been from like a very young age. Like I didn't know at the time, but like in retrospect, I definitely had like serious addictive traits. You know, if I liked something, and I still am like that, you know, if I like something, it's balls to the wall. I need to do it like 100% or I don't do it at all. And, you know, so by 12, weed was every day. I was smoking weed every day. And, I started selling weed in school, and, I got introduced. To be honest, I don't remember how it happened, but I was 12, and I'll never forget like the way that it was presented to me. Somebody gave me, and to this day I can't remember who it was, but somebody had given me an Oxycontin, a 40 milligram Oxycontin, and I was like, "What is this? You know, what? I don't know what to do with this." And they were like, "Suck on it till the yellow part's gone, and crush it up and sniff it." And I was like, "But why would I do that?" You know, and they're like, "You think weed makes you feel good? This will make you feel good." So I did. And I did. I was scared because they made it seem like it was dangerous. But I was scared. So I did like a half of it. And I just, that feeling, that warm feeling that came over me, it was game over. From that point on, I knew like, this is what I've been searching for, even though I was only 12. Like, this is what I've been searching for. This is what makes me feel good. And it became an everyday thing. Within like 2 weeks, I was finding them. And then when I couldn't get the 40 milligram ones, it was the 80 milligram Oxycontins. And that was when everything really kind of like took off. You know, my mom didn't know, you know, like she knew I was getting into trouble and in school and, you know, fighting and things like that. But like, she didn't know that I was doing drugs. She knew I would smoke cigarettes, and she, you know, my mom, she doesn't smoke anymore. But she used to smoke cigarettes, and I used to steal her cigarettes, and she used to know. But she knew that she couldn't do anything if she couldn't catch me. So, you know.
Well, you said she raised you and how many siblings?
My younger and older sister as well.
Right. So here's a single mom with 3 kids. I can understand how she might not have, you know, knew you were getting in trouble, because she would hear that, but not necessarily have the attention, if you will, to observe what was going on. And I don't say that in any way to be disrespectful to your mother. Right. You know, it's difficult with 3 kids.
Right. And I was the black sheep as well. Like I'm the only boy. So I was mama's boy, and, you know, I could get away with murder, you know? So, my older sister, you know, had friends that were into whatever it was, you know, and my mom, they would have friends over, and, you know, to this day, I'm not sure that my mom or even my older sister knows, but, like I used to sell them pills and weed when I was like 12, you know? So, by the end of my freshman year in high school, I was 13, and I was at this girl's house, and her brother was a heroin addict. He was much older than us, and he was a heroin addict. Come to find out, my next door neighbor was a raging heroin addict, much older than me, and didn't know that, but until later on. And it's crazy how everything like links together. So the guy whose house I smoked weed at the first time, his mom's boyfriend happens to be the cousin of my next door neighbor. So they were smoking crack and shooting heroin, smoking PCP. And, you know, so I was kind of introduced to all of that like super early.
Wow.
And when I was over at this girl's house, I told him that I wanted, I knew he was doing drugs, right? But I didn't know what. So I was like, right. I want Oxycontin. Like I can't get it right now, and I need it. Because at this point I now knew what being sick was. You know, I got sick for the first time at 13 years old, and I experienced withdrawals, and was like, the first couple of times I didn't know what it was, but I knew that like all I wanted was to get high. And
when you say sick, you mean dope sick, right?
I mean in withdrawals. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would search for it mainly with the older kids because I didn't really hang out with kids my age. So, yeah, I was over at the house. I told him I wanted Oxycontins. He said he couldn't get them, but he had fentanyl patches, and he was melting them down and shooting them. And I wanted to shoot it. The whole like thing, just everything about drugs in general intrigued me. You know, I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. Come to find out, it's the lamest thing ever. You know, but it's I wanted to shoot it, and he was like, "No, like this is not. Don't ask me because I'm not gonna." He said, "I'm not gonna pop your cherry. I'm not gonna be the first one to do this because that is not gonna be on my hands." So he gave me a Valium, which I'd never eaten a benzo before. Gave me a Valium, and I took it, and then he squeezed a fentanyl patch under my tongue, and I remember him saying, "Oh shit." And I'm like, "Oh shit, what?" He's like, "Spit it out. Like, I gave you too much." And the mix between an opiate and a benzo anyway is deadly, but let alone fentanyl. And I didn't have a fentanyl addiction. It was Oxycontin, and this is 10 times more powerful. So I spit it out, but I guess it had already, like, some of it had already absorbed under my tongue. And I didn't wake up for 2 days.
Okay, and now how old are you when you did this?
13.
How old were you?
13. So it was like 2 days that I don't remember, but apparently I was in the bed at her house for 2 days. And I woke up and was like, what, you know, I thought it was just like a couple hours later. And she's like, "Dude, you haven't like been to school. Like we knew you were alive, but like we thought you were just like passed out." And her mom was kind of like, I don't want to say alcoholic, but her mom partied. So we were allowed to party there. Mm-hmm. And things went unnoticed, like me being in a bed for 2 days. So, yeah, that. And when I came to, I was still high. And I was like, this is an amazing feeling. And I don't ever want to let this go. So I told him, I was there maybe a week later, and I told him I wanted heroin. And he was like, "Nope. Like that's, you know, you're like really pushing this."
And you know what's interesting to me, Chris, and I'm not a former addict, so I don't quite know the effects of the drugs on a personal basis, but isn't fentanyl way worse than heroin?
Yes.
So why would he think that was okay, but not shooting you up with heroin? I guess it doesn't have to make sense, does it?
I guess in like 2001, 2001, heroin had more of a taboo than a prescription fentanyl patch, you know? So it still wasn't at the point that it is now.
Right.
So,
okay.
But money talks, especially for an addict who's in full-blown addiction. So when I can help support his habit, he's going to give me what I want.
Okay.
And I paid for a bag of heroin, and that was the first time that I ever did heroin, and I sniffed it and I threw up for like 5 hours, just constant puking. And it tasted gross and bitter, and I hated it. And I was like, why do people do this? You know? But when I was done vomiting, the feeling was the same as the oxys, but more powerful. And I was like, that's why people do this.
Right.
So I went home, and a couple of days later, I asked my next door neighbor, because I knew something was up. I'm very observant. I've always been like that since a kid. And I don't know if you would call it a natural intuitive or whatever it might be, but like I pick up on energy really easily. And I just knew my next door neighbor was into something. Plus, being around his cousin, who was my friend's mother's boyfriend, I knew that they did drugs. So I asked him, "Do you have dope? You know, do you have heroin?" And the answer was no, but I can get you a Dilaudid. So I'm like, okay, we'll try that. So I did that, loved it, asked for it the next day. He said, "No, but we're going to DC to get heroin." I said, "Okay, well, heroin it is." And, you know, here these guys are 24, 25, taking a 13-year-old into DC. Mind you, I'm very comfortable in DC. It's where I'm from. So like it wasn't a big deal, but the fact that like they're doing this because they're getting free drugs out of it, you know.
And where'd you get the money? Selling drugs? That's how you got the money to feed
Selling
your
weed.
habit, basically? Okay.
Yeah, selling weed, and also like just minor things like mowing lawns and just little things like that like a typical young teenager would be doing to try and make a couple bucks.
Okay.
You know, or my mom, because she didn't know, you know. So yeah, I rode into DC, and we got these little black Ziploc bags, and he was like, "Can I get 2 of them?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll pay you back." So never got paid back, but you know, that was my introduction to really the full experience of going to get it and everything like that, instead of just being somewhere where it shows up. And we got back, and I went into his house, and he was like, "Have you mainlined?" And I was like, "No, but I want to." And he's like, "All right, cool." So he took a syringe, and it wasn't even a new one. He bleached the syringe to clean it, and he shot me up, and I like that was it. That was it.
Wow.
That was the point of no return. That was it, right there.
Wow. Well, you mean the point of no return, in that you were not going back on your addiction. Later on, I want you to tell me the point of no return when you decided to get clean.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
This is
sure.
this is the point of, you are now addicted and not coming back from that right away.
It would take years. It took years before I decided to make the decision to get my life together. But that
did you finish school? Did you keep going to no?
Yeah, no, I finished.
Oh, you finished. Okay. So you graduated from high school, and
so I got my GED actually.
okay.
So at 13, this is all happening around the same time I joined a gang. And I was doing things for them that, you know, to this day I still live with. So it was more of I guess I just wanted to fit in somewhere. And when I was on drugs, I fit in everywhere. So it kind of went hand in hand. And some of the things that I had to do, like I couldn't do unless I was on drugs.
Right.
So, you know, but I didn't skip school. I always went to school. I'd sit there and put my textbook in front of me and sniff drugs while I was in school, or I'd shoot heroin in the bathroom. But I went, at least I went. You know, and then I just kept getting suspended, and for like fighting, and, you know, the other gangs and stuff, like the kids. And there was this a really bad, I guess you could say, like a really bad beating of someone, and somebody got stabbed, and I got sent to an alternative school. So like basically
you did the stabbing, or you were with the person that did the stabbing?
I was just there.
Okay.
I helped beat the kid up, but I'm not the one that stabbed him. So
okay.
That it kind of just got worse. I started trying everything else, like, you know, LSD and mushrooms, and I had about a year-long run with ecstasy, where I was going into clubs underage, and I was eating them in school, and like I was just constantly high, constantly just out of my mind. I was shooting cocaine by the time I was 14, with a full-blown IV heroin addiction, and I would speedball. And I remember going into a few different psychosis episodes, you know, fighting my stepdad, and pulling a gun on him, and him literally like fighting me in the hallway, trying to get it away from me, and stuff like that. So
okay, now your mom knows, I'm assuming.
Yeah, she's aware.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't know what to do, but she knew I was doing drugs. She just didn't know the severity. Like she knew I had, like, to her, I had like dabbled in cocaine. Like I had sniffed coke a couple times, you know, it wasn't a big deal.
Right.
He's young, he'll try it. It is what
right.
it is, you know? And she knew I was smoking weed, and when she found me growing weed, in my room, that was when she was like, okay, are you going to tell me? I've always been really close with my mom. So I've always been able to tell my mom anything. So that was when she's like, are you going to tell me what's going on? And it just so happened to be like at the same day that I came home, the night before, I had gotten jumped really bad. I had gotten beat up by like 15 people. And I was hit in the head with a beer bottle twice, and it didn't break, but it cracked my head open. I had Timberland boot prints on my face, my back completely swollen with Nike and Reebok prints. And, you know, and I didn't care at the time. I just kept getting high. The next day, my mom was like, okay, your face is fucked up. Your body is completely fucking bruised. You have shoe prints on your neck and face. Like, can you tell me what's going on? And I'm finding weed in your room. So I told her I'm in a gang. I can't get out. And I'm doing drugs. You know, that was how I said it. I didn't say specifically what drugs, but I told her I was doing drugs, and you know, she cried and she didn't know what to do. But that was also, or I was 14 at this point. Okay. So the end of 14, almost 15. I had been really bad with wanting to try every drug I could get my hands on. And at this point, I had the connections to get whatever I wanted. So like everyone in school, even the kids that were out of school and graduated, all knew, like, oh, you want drugs, you go to Chris, you know. And it just kind of got a lot worse, especially when I started shooting cocaine regularly. That was when things really got bad. I got stabbed over a cocaine deal that went bad.
Stabbed where?
The first one, I was stabbed in my side twice. So like in this area twice.
Yep.
And I've been stabbed twice and shot twice, but those are like later on. So I got stabbed and didn't go to the hospital. I didn't do anything. Instead, my whole mentality at the time was, okay, he stabbed me over $120 because he wanted cocaine, obviously. And the messed up thing was I was going to rob him anyway. I didn't have coke for him, but his whole thing was he was going to rob me. So it kind of like went bad. It was bad from the start.
Yeah.
But yeah, he stabbed me, and I ended up catching him somewhere else the same night and retaliated. And that was the first time that like things had gotten really serious as far as like we'll say like police go and stuff.
Did you stab him or did you just beat him up?
No, I shot him.
Oh, okay.
And and I can say it because this is all over with. Like, this is all
Understood.
done. So I am not going to incriminate myself. But yeah, so that was when, like, once that happened, between that, the drugs and everything else, my mental health being like horrible at the time, depression. I'm not going to say I'm bipolar, but like I definitely showed signs of it at a young age. And
well, when you're doing that much drugs and you're involved in a gang like that, I would kind of be surprised if you were walking around perfectly normal and happy mentally.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And I was actually getting, I can't like go into super detail, but I was getting punished, we'll say, by the gang for doing drugs. We weren't allowed to do that. And so I'd be getting beat up 2-3 times a week, you know?
Wow.
So
why didn't they kick you out? You said you couldn't leave if you continue.
It doesn't work like that. And plus, when you have somebody who is active, who's ready to do whatever at any given time, they're not going to let go of that. So it got to the point where they just said, fuck it. He's going to do what he wants to do, you know? But he's a good, he's a shooter. We got him on the team and he does what he needs to do. Like, so we're just going to let him get away with it. Because
Can I just ask you without like getting, I don't want to get you into any kind of trouble, but like, what kind of gang? Like, was it like, I don't know, when I think of gangs, I think of they're either like African-American or they're Hispanic. So, okay.
African-American, specifically 7 Trey Gangsta Crip. And it wasn't, not East Coast gang.
Okay.
West Coast. So, I became affiliated with the West Coast at a very young age. So it wasn't one of the fake gangs, you could say, because there was a lot of them around here at the time. So, but there was a few that were actually real, where the guys were from Los Angeles, and that's the people who I got involved with, and they actually ended up being the people who I was selling cocaine for.
Okay.
So,
so you went to jail, presumably when you shot somebody, and
no, I didn't go to jail.
you didn't. Okay.
I got
Probation?
no, I guess you could say, because I got put on probation for something else. It just so happened at the time I had weed on me when I did get brought up on this, and they found me, because I was somewhat on the run, but not really, because I would still go home. So if it was a big deal, they'd come to my house. That was my thinking. That was my thought. Well, I left my house one night and I had weed on me, and they stopped me.
Oh, okay.
And, they were like, "Look, we know what you did," and of course, deny. So that didn't stick, but the weed did. So they did put me on probation, but it wasn't for that.
I got it.
So, and I violated probation immediately, and my probation officer basically, they put me on house arrest, and they were like, because I immediately failed for cocaine and heroin and ecstasy and methamphetamines and everything else. And they were like, "Dude, you're going to die. So you're young." At this point, I was 15. They're like, "You are young. Like, you can't be failing drug tests for all this. Like, you're going to go to juvie." And I was like, "Okay, I'm not going to juvie," and my whole thought process was, if I go into jail, there's no way I can keep getting high. And I didn't want to be sick in jail. And I had heard stories of how juvenile detention centers were like gladiator schools, just nonstop fighting and kids being like, boys raping each other and things like that. And
Yikes.
So like I was actually scared of that,
Yeah.
But
scared of that wasn't enough to make you get clean.
No.
Okay.
No. So they put me on house arrest, and they told me that I would have a house arrest officer coming by my house randomly to make sure I was there. I would leave. I didn't care. So instead of putting me in jail, I was given the option to go to treatment, because they thought that this was, I was tagged in the federal system as a gang member at a very young age. So they thought that like, it's not the gang activity. He's just, he's on drugs. So and mind you, this is like 2003, 2004. So,
right.
Or 2002, 2003, around there. So they're like, rehab. So I went into treatment, and it didn't really go great. I mean, it went how treatment would normally go. I detoxed from the heroin, and it was a state facility, so I didn't get the opportunity to take medication. At this time, the only thing around, Suboxone was around, but it wasn't really heavily used in detoxes and stuff yet. It was more methadone. So, but I didn't get to use anything except for Benadryl and ibuprofen. So I kicked, and I knew that if I didn't, they said if I complete treatment, I get off probation, right? Because the charge was a weed charge. So I completed, I got off of probation, and within a couple of days, I was shooting heroin again, and things kind of progressed from there more seriously with like everything else as well. Just my whole world was just falling apart. So I guess we fast forward, typical drug use kept going, didn't stop. So at like 16, I had a group of friends that I was close with. So at 16 years old, we were in the car, and it was two of my friends were twin brothers. One had short hair, one had long hair. That's the way you could tell them apart. And his brother was in the front seat. Another one of our friends was driving, and because by now we all have our licenses and stuff like that. So, and he was next to me, and a car pulled up next to us, fired one shot, and I felt my head like just boom hit the window, and my initial reaction is to grab, like, you know, my face, and it was just warm and wet. And I was like, holy shit, I got shot. See, they shot me in the head. And I looked down, and, you know, there was blood all over my hands. But as I continued to move my head, I saw that he was in my lap with half of his head gone. So it was his brain matter in my mouth. And that I can say that was the point where, like, my mental health went to a point that there was no, I didn't think that I would ever be the same. And I mean, honestly, I'm not the same, but that was when I was like, okay, I don't care about anything. Like,
Right.
no one cares about me. You know, the whole pity pot.
It can't get any worse, basically,
Right.
at that point. You're rock bottom, so to
exactly.
speak. Yeah.
So I'm like, he's dead. His brother just watched his twin get killed. And we decided that, like, war was inevitable. That's what we were going to do. So within 4 weeks, we had been going back and forth with this other gang, and things got pretty bad. And his brother found out who killed him, and he went to go kill him. And on the way there, the guy who killed his brother, his cousin, caught him and shot him in the back of the head without him even knowing, and killed him. So his mom lost her sons within a month. And me and
story is like the worst movie ever. I mean, it's horrific. I mean, I appreciate you sharing it with us, and I think, you know, it's important, but I just feel bad for you. I mean, what you've gone through.
I mean, I guess it's just a part of it. I don't know. That's just how it happens, you know. And we were conditioned to believe, like, you know, you're gonna die or you're gonna go to prison. That's it.
It's a different culture. You were involved in the whole drug culture, and there you go. And
so within a 7-month period, just to shorten this down, within a 7-month period, I watched one of our other friends that we were close with. I watched him get shot twice and killed, and I held him while he died. I watched the light leave his eyes, basically.
Wow.
And, so I was by myself. I had no more friends. I still had my friends, but I didn't have my brothers. You know what I mean? Like, those were my brothers. So that was it. Nobody cared. My life didn't matter. Nothing's going to be worse than this. I'd rather be dead. So I was very reckless. Very, very reckless after that. Now I'm 17 at this point, and I got into a very big heroin operation, and I got in over my head, basically. So there was a lot of money involved. And when there's a lot of money, there's a lot of risk. Where there's a lot of risk, there's people who are willing to die for that money.
Right.
And the trips to Baltimore now were daily. This is when Philadelphia wasn't the epicenter of the epidemic. It was Baltimore, you know. Okay. So I was going to Baltimore 2 to 3 times a day, which is an hour from me. So just the money in the suburbs was crazy. My habit could be supported by selling drugs, and I could sell drugs because I had the connections. I had the connections because if somebody took me to a new guy when my guy wasn't around, or I mean, to be honest, most of the time I met these people just by driving. I'd drive up and they would literally flag me down and step in front of my car, you know. It was open air, just the way Kensington is now. And I got involved with somebody who was moving a lot of heroin, and by a lot I mean like multiple kilos a week.
Wow.
And, so my habit was just, you know, it was free dope, and all I had to do was sell to other kids, and I drive to Baltimore a couple of times. Like, sounds good to me. And 2005, I was in alternative school for my senior year in high school. And I failed algebra like every year. So they just put me in geometry my senior year. Little did I know that one credit was going to keep me from graduating. But I was only there for a semester, and I was supposed to graduate early, but they didn't tell me any of this until after that. So I was like, oh, okay, so can I come back for the second semester and just finish off with algebra? No. So I was like, oh, so now school won't let me graduate. It's fuck everything now, you know? So my girlfriend who I was dating at the time, she actually just passed away last year from MRSA, from an infection from getting high.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she was in the hospital. She left the hospital, didn't want to be there because she was sick. So she left the hospital, got a block away from the hospital, and collapsed and died.
Oh.
So, you know, the whole 16, 17, 18 years old thing was just a blur, kind of. So I caught
when did you decide to get sober, Chris?
Just about 2 years ago, actually. So but prior to this, I had some significant clean time a couple different times, you know. So
okay.
So with school or whatever, I turned 18. Well, at 17, I got charged with, I got set up and charged with the heroin charge. A pretty serious charge, especially for, I was in Virginia. So for Virginia, especially in 2005, they did not play games with heroin. Like that was it's a Commonwealth, you know?
Yeah.
So it was a very serious thing, especially with like what, you know, took place. And so I got charged as an adult. And
wow.
So they kind of brought up everything, you know, and I got a bond. I bonded out and violated my bond. Couldn't get clean. And there was heroin that was really, really good coming from Baltimore. And a guy, April 13th, 2006, I was still fighting this case. April 13th, 2006, there's a guy, he wasn't a friend of mine, but he was a friend of everyone else that I knew. He died from the heroin, right? So this was the first time we had like really heard, you know, like overdose. April 14th, 2006, I overdosed for the first time on the same heroin. And it was a hot shot. It was insecticide.
Ooh.
So, and I remember it vividly, very vividly. I did it. Everyone said, be careful, dude. Like, be careful because this is good. So only do one. And it was the little vials. And at the time I was doing 4 or 5 vials. So I was like, why would I only do one? That's stupid. So when they weren't looking, I added another half of one in, just whatever. And I remember I did it. I got this hot feeling. And all of a sudden I just like, I've never in my life, still to this day. And I work out religiously, right? Like I bodybuild now and stuff like that. So still to this day, I've never felt my pores on my face and body open up to drip water, to drip sweat. I start pouring sweat. I'm lightheaded. My tongue went numb. I knew immediately something was wrong. And I kept he had a finished bar in the basement where we were. And I leaned up against the bar like this. And I was like, yo, something's wrong with this dope, man. Something's wrong with this dope. And they were like, what are you talking about? You know? They're like, bro, the dope's fine. Like, we've been doing it all day. And I'm like, no, something's wrong with this dope, man. And I woke up with them pulling paddles off my chest in the hospital.
Wow.
And, I guess they had robbed me while I was unconscious. And when I arrived at the hospital, the doctors told, my mom was there. There was enough time for my mom lived 15 minutes away from this specific hospital. There was enough time for them to call my mom to get in the car and to get there before I woke up. I had, according to the doctors, I had no heartbeat and no pulse for 18 minutes. So wow. I was dead.
Yeah.
They used the defibrillator paddles, 14 milligrams of Narcan, the defibrillator paddles 3 different times, and it didn't work. The doctor said, his words, quote unquote, like verbatim, I said, fuck it, hit him again. If he's dead, it's not going to make a difference. He hit me again, and I woke up. And I ended up kicking a nurse and punching one of the doctors, not knowing, because I was freaking out. I didn't know what was going That was my first overdose, and I looked down and my mom's at the end of the room, like sobbing. So
Yeah.
that kind of like like messes me up, because like I put my mom through that type of stuff.
Yeah.
You know? She didn't deserve that. So that was like the first time my mom actually got to see how bad it was. And also like the first time that I realized like this shit's probably gonna kill me, because I didn't have any intentions on stopping, you know. Like I didn't want to stop. I still didn't want to stop. So I got out of the hospital. They said I stayed clean for 42 days before I overdosed again. And this time it wasn't as bad, but I mean, I guess any overdose is bad, but like it wasn't as long, we'll say.
I was gonna say you weren't dead as long.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
And they said that it was like a miracle that I didn't have brain damage and stuff like that. I think I did, because my memory from that point on was like really bad. Sometimes I'll be in the middle of a sentence and just completely forget what I was talking about. So I was still fighting the case initially. And I violated my bond by doing all this, because they found out, of course. So I violated my bond. They put me back in jail. I detoxed in jail. I'd actually caught another case, which is how they caught me, because I guess I had a bench warrant for violating the bond anyway. Caught another case. They said, hey, you have like two options. Either you can go to prison for the rest of your life, or you can go to treatment and do drug court. And I don't even know how my attorney was able to work that, because like my charge wasn't a drug court qualified charge. So I don't know how he was able to do that. But I said, okay, let's do drug court. I didn't make it very long in drug court before I violated for getting high again. And at that point, I was just kind of so sick of doing what I was doing. You know, I stayed clean for a little while. Like I stayed clean, I don't think it was like 9 months I was in drug court. And then I got high, and I went in, and to like, you have to go to these little groups and stuff. So I went in, and it was drug test night. And I was like, hey, look, there's no point in testing me. I'm dirty. And they were like, oh, okay. We still have to test you. So they tested me. I tested positive for opiates, for shooting heroin. And I said, well, can I go downstairs and smoke a cigarette at least? And they're like, yeah, just come back up. I took off, and I ended up being in a police chase through 3 counties. And finally, my mom telling me, turn the fuck around and bring the car back, and I will meet you. This way you can go in and your car won't get taken. So I said, okay. So I went back into Loudoun County. I parked in a parking lot. The next thing I know, I have 20 cops surrounding me with their guns drawn and all this crazy stuff. So I caught more charges, and I got sent to prison for total almost 7 years. So from 18 to almost 25, I was in prison.
Oh my God.
And I didn't stop using. I was getting high in prison. It took a little while before I was able to figure out the ins and outs, because I basically grew up in prison. Like from 18 to 25, you're becoming a man.
Right.
And that's where I learned manners. That's where I learned what real ego is. And that's also where I learned that, like, this mentality of my whole life I've been a never back down type of person, but
right.
That's where I learned the true, like, personal level kill or be killed type of mentality. Because when someone looks at you and says, I'm going to kill you, white boy, you take that serious when they have 411 years that they're doing, you know?
Right.
So,
they don't care.
No, they don't. So I was affiliated in prison. In the Virginia system, it's not white, black, like it is in the West Coast and other places. It's blood, Crip, Muslim, so on and so forth. And me with
and
my
so when you say affiliated, it means you were part of a gang.
Absolutely, yeah. It didn't stop just because I went to prison.
Right.
But me being white in prison, being a member of that gang, was not really like, it wasn't really, it was frowned upon.
Right.
So once again, even though my name was established on the street, I now had to reestablish my name in prison.
You are listening to the Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return. For more information on the podcast, or to reach out if you have a story you would like to share with us, go to our Facebook page by the same name, or you can email us at theaddictionpodcast@yahoo.com, or go to our website, theaddictionpodcast.com, or call us at 727-314-7080. And please remember to subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a 5-star review. Sometimes the hardest thing about getting someone into recovery is getting them to agree to treatment. Bobby Newman, a certified drug counselor with 30 years experience and an over 85% success rate as an interventionist, has created a series of 12 videos that you can use right now to learn every step to get your loved one to agree to treatment. Call 1-833-918-0008 today and say the word podcast to get a 10% discount. Or go to newmaninterventions.com and type in the word podcast for a 10% discount. The service comes with a free 1-hour consultation with Bobby.
So it was just constant fighting, people getting stabbed and, people getting cut, and me going from a level 1, well, level 2 technically. So in Virginia, you have 5 levels of prison: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 is a maximum security. Level 1 is a work center. Level 2 is an open dormitory. So it's still fenced in, but it's less security. Level 3 is where you get cells. Level 3 is murder and up.
Right.
Like violent cases and stuff. And then level 4 is just in between that and a maximum security. So it's a little more restricted movement, but it's still like a serious place,
Right.
So,
and when you went in, you were what level?
A level 2.
Okay, 2.
I started
and
at
you got escalated to what?
Yeah. So I started at Mecklenburg, which is a receiving center, which is where you get your, it takes however long it takes. For me, it took 3 months. And then you get shipped to where you're supposed to be doing your time at, your compound, your spread. I was a level 2, so they shipped me to Haynesville. Well, the gang sergeant at Haynesville hated me. I don't know what it was about him, but he hated me. So, there was certain things that we abide by, and there was the specific person who was running the yard for the Crips, the OG, who was in charge basically, was involved in something that we disapprove of. So I beat his ass and tried to kill him. And that got me sent to a level 4.
Wow.
And I got to Greensville, which is a mix. It's a 3-4 mix. And as soon as I walked in, you could feel the tension in the air. Not from me, just in general. And I was like, I don't like it here. This is where I got to do the rest of my time at. Like, this is crazy. And I had heard stories of Greensville. It's the biggest penitentiary. I think it's the second biggest on the East Coast, something like that.
Okay.
But it's so big, it has its own zip code.
Wow.
And I got in there, and there was nobody in my gang, in my unit, and I was the only one. So immediately I got into a fight. And I got into a fight. Things went crazy. I got transferred to another facility, was doing drugs. The facility got raided by the FBI for drugs and prostitution, cell phones, all that stuff. And then I came home April 23rd, 2012. And 2 days later, I was getting high.
Okay.
So that was when the rehab and treatment thing really kicked off. I moved to South Florida to try and get clean. I was like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I really want to get clean. I called a murder charge.
something earlier or?
No,
Oh, okay.
no. I went to Florida, decided I didn't like it, came back, caught a murder charge.
Okay.
Beat the murder charge. Didn't stop me, kept getting high. So I was like, okay, I have to go back to Florida now. That was like my runaway place. I run away and I'm good. I don't have to worry about it. I don't know anybody. I can go to treatment and I'm safe here. I went back to treatment, in and out. Halfway houses, you know. Do you know the whole South Florida shuffle?
Yeah. Sober
Detox
homes.
treatment,
Yeah.
halfway detox treatment. I just kept
Yep.
doing it.
Yep.
And ended up overdosing. So altogether, I actually, on my Instagram, I just posted a couple weeks ago, I was cleaning out my old bedroom at my mom's house, and I found 20 of the 50 some hospital bracelets from overdoses.
Wow.
So, and I had posted them saying, you know, on my Instagram, like, yo, this is just a show, with a bunch of jail IDs and jail bracelets and stuff. And I'm like, this is just to show that no matter how bad it gets, like, it will get better if you really want it to.
Right.
You know, like, if I can go through all this and get clean, I don't care what anyone says. I was the worst of the worst. Like, it got to the point where I was prostituting myself and like everything like that. And if I can do it, then anybody can do it. You know, and I firmly believe that. Because
Well, what led you to that point, though? What was your point of no return, where you said, I have to get clean or I'm gonna die?
I think I was comfortable with dying. I was comfortable with the idea of dying.
Okay.
So death never scared me.
What scared you?
What scares me is being alive and not having anything that I care about around me.
Okay.
So, or being stuck in that same cycle and not being able to get out. That's what scares me the most. Because I'm not fortunate enough to die from this and end suffering. I'm the type that I'm going to be punished and have to sit in this suffering for the rest of my life.
Right.
And that scares the shit out of me.
Interesting. I mean, that's kind of an interesting perspective, but you're correct. I mean, after, being dead for 18 minutes, obviously this stuff was not going to kill you. So, the fact that you were more afraid of being alive and living in the hell you were in, that's interesting.
I actually told plenty of like therapists and psychiatrists, like, I'm not scared to die. And I promise you, all the overdose you hear about, it's not going to be me. Drugs won't kill me, you know. And I ended up in psych wards for suicide attempts and just a bunch of crazy shit, you know. So I've been in 6 different psych wards for extended stays, for suicide attempts. And then, you know, over 50 treatment centers, overdosed over 50 times. You know, in 2016, I was shot twice. That was kind of a situation where it was more of a wrong place, wrong time type of thing. But so I was shot twice. Then I got stabbed again, and I decided to move home. I decided, okay, I gotta come back, because this is beginning to be like, Florida is just the same as it is at home. I might as well be closer to my family.
Right.
At this point, my family didn't want anything to do with me anyway. So, in 2017, I moved back home. So I was dating this girl. A lot of fucked up things happened. One of our roommates, little brother, moved down from college to kind of keep an eye on his older sister. I went and got dope with her in Florida. She did it. She was a heroin addict as well. She did it. And then I told her, I said, look, like, you cannot do any more. Like, you're really high. And I knew that she was this close to overdosing. So I was like, I'm taking your stuff from you. And like, tomorrow when you're back to normal, I'll give it back. But like, you're not about to die on my watch. Like, it's not a thing. And, she, I guess, had like already taken some out or something, whatever the case may be. Long story short, we found her dead in her room. And that was when, like, that whole episode, that was when I was like, okay, I'm going back to DC. So I looked at the girl I was dating and I said, either you can come with me or we don't. So we drove back to DC. I got strung out on shooting Molly, shooting heroin, and smoking PCP. And I like lost my mind. She had enough of it. I went into a store, I guess, and things were taking place. I was committing a crime, we'll say. And I came out and the car was gone and all my shit was on the curb. And she took the car and she drove back to Florida. And she said, I can't fucking do this anymore. You're crazy. So that was the hopelessness point where I was like, okay, I have a surefire way of killing myself. I'm going to exit 10C, which is the highest overpass in DC. And I said, I'm going to jump off of it. And there's no way that I can survive that. So I'm sitting on the edge of the overpass and I getting ready to drop my phone off just to count to see how long it takes to hit the ground. And my friend calls me. He says, clean, right? Works program, all that stuff. He says, hey, man, what are you doing, dude? I said, bro, I'm about to kill myself. I don't know why I answered the phone, to be honest with you, but I did. I said, I'm about to kill myself, dude. That's it. I'm over it, you know? He was like, well, are you ready to go to detox? I said, bro, I've been there. Like, the fuck do I need to go again for? He said, are you ready to go, bro? I said, no, man, I'm not going. I'm sorry. He said, how about this? This was his deal. You go to detox, right? I'll get you in. You go to detox. Okay, I'll get somebody pick you up, get you on a plane, car, whatever the fuck it takes. I'll get you to detox. Not in Florida. I'll get you to a detox, right? And if you go through detox and you go through the treatment center that I'm working at right now, and when you're done, you still want to get high, I'll buy you your first bag. And I was like, you know what? What else do I got to lose? So I'll go. So I went, and that night I ended up, I had to wait until the next morning for them to come get me. And I wish that I could say that that was the last time I used, but it wasn't. So, but that was the first true taste of sobriety I ever got.
Okay.
So I was in a prostitute with a bunch of, I was in a hotel with a bunch of prostitutes, and you know, things just got out of control that night. And I left the next morning. I went and I got high first, of course, like any good addict would. I overdosed twice back to back in the bathroom, waiting on the driver to get me. And when I woke up, I got high again and shot Molly to try and come back up. Blacked out from that, had a seizure, woke up, shot more heroin because I was paranoid, and was just kind of in a cycle in between my heart pounding out of my chest and me not being able to open my eyes. I walked outside the airport and I just didn't give a single fuck. There was police right there, and I smoked PCP, and PCP liquid stinks when you smoke it. And the cops are literally looking at me in front of Reagan National Airport like, dude, what are you fucking doing? And I'm like, I'm going to detox. I don't give a fuck. And they were like, all right, enjoy it. But like, if that's not put out in the next couple minutes, you're going to jail. So I was like, whatever. I smoked. And as I'm smoking it, the woman pulls up. She picks me up. And I don't remember the ride. I remember walking into the detox. And the only thing I remember from that day was they were walking by me to go to a group or something. And I heard some kid say, damn, it smells like PCP in here, dude. And like, that's all I remember from that whole detox day.
Okay.
It was kind of a blur. And then I ended up in treatment in Maryland. So I went to detox in New Jersey, and I ended up in treatment in Maryland at Fresh Start. And the people there were awesome to me. They were so good to me. They give a shit because they're in recovery as well, and
right.
They really want you to succeed. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So like, they were just really good to me, and they made me feel like I wasn't like excluded. You know what I mean? So
right.
I met a girl, of course, because that's what I do. That's what I did. I'd always meet a girl in treatment, and that was my thing. My daughter was born in 2015, mind you. So there was a period where I lived in New Jersey, caught cases in New Jersey, but I just didn't feel like it was relevant to be speaking on, just because there's so much that happens. So I had my daughter in 2015. Basically, social services decided they were going to take her. I tried to fight for custody. Things went bad. Now her grandmother has her, and it's not the best situation for me, but I still get to see my daughter. So like, that's what matters.
Right.
I'm still a father to her. So, which I wasn't able to do when I was getting high.
Right.
And let's see. Yeah, I met this girl thing. We all got a place together. You know, my friend who got me into treatment, you know, we all rented a townhouse together. We're all the sober crew, and we're going to meetings every day. We're working. I'm in the gym. Like I started competing in classic physique, which is like a division of bodybuilding. So, like things were really good. You know, I had a sponsor. I was working my steps. I was doing, you know, everything I'm supposed to do. And then all of a sudden, she just decided that this wasn't working, and that that she needs space, and that she thinks I should move into an Oxford house, which is like it's like a halfway house, only there's no manager. It's ran, collectively by the house.
Right.
So I moved into an Oxford house. We broke up, go figure. And I relapsed. And that was when I started like prostituting myself. That was when I just kind of didn't care, because at that point I was like, you know, if I'm willing to go back to this, I'm gonna do it all the way. All those not yet.
Right.
Say I would never, you know, all these never, I would never do that. I would never do this. Yeah, they're not yets. They're not nevers. They're just not yets, because you haven't done it yet, but you will. Right. If you make it that far, you know. And I said all the things I would never do, and I've done them 10 times over, you know. Yeah. So I was like, okay, switched Oxford houses to one in DC, in the area that I'm extremely familiar with, in the worst part of DC. I was the only white guy in the neighborhood, period. Only white guy in the house. But I'm used to that situation. I'm used to that. So that didn't bother me. I felt more at home in there than I do in the suburbs. So I was getting high, but I was also going to the methadone clinic, because if I couldn't get a fix that day because I had to go to work or something, at least I wouldn't be sick.
Where were you working?
I've been a private personal trainer forever.
Okay.
That's like my thing. So, while I was in prison, so I started going to college and stuff. So now I have a double master's in exercise science and nutrition, and an undergrad in biochemistry.
Wow. So, and you did all that in prison?
Yeah. And when I got out. So even through my addiction, I still was managed to, like, if I want something, I get it. You know what I mean? Right. Like if I really want to do something, I'm going to do it. So
you have kind of an over the rampart sort of view of life. And it appears that whether it's taking drugs or getting educated or what you're doing now, you just kind of over the ramparts. Yeah, do you know what I mean when I say that? Like you just go full speed ahead?
Yep. There's no, I don't give anything 50%. Yeah. You know, I'm the same way with my kids. They get 100%. My kids are my life.
Okay. So now you're saying kids. How many kids do you have?
So I have 2 now. Okay. My son is 15 months old. So he's a little tank. That's my boy. So
I want to know more about your kid, but I still haven't heard, when did you finally
my story.
Decide to get clean?
I'm actually getting ready to get
okay,
clean.
We're close. We're close. So, okay.
I met this girl on Facebook. Go figure. And we just started talking, whatever. And I was living in the hood in DC, so there were shootouts and stuff like that. But I wasn't necessarily involved in the same type of stuff. I was kind of on my own, doing my own thing, like just trying to survive basically at this point. I was on FaceTime with her. This has happened multiple times. But the point where I actually left and went back to Florida, because that's where she was living, was I was on FaceTime with her and I got into a shootout. And I almost got hit.
Oh my God.
And, you know, I can, like, in retrospect now, you know, like hindsight, you know, it's 2020. I I didn't think how that would have affected her, you know, because there was a couple times where I got shot at, or like somebody shot someone like while we were on FaceTime in my neighborhood, you know, and she just kept telling me she needs me to leave. You got to get out of there. Like, you got to get out of there. Well, I got into a pretty serious shootout to where I was almost hit. And a week later, a couple other things had happened, and I ended up shooting somebody a couple times, and you know, that became an issue in itself. I beat the case, but it wasn't an easy beat. I beat the case though, and she decided, I'm gonna fly your ass down here, and you're gonna get the fuck away from there because you're gonna die if you stay there. So I transferred my methadone clinic down there. So I was now be going to Fort Lauderdale. I wouldn't know anyone. I don't know where to go in Fort Lauderdale, but if I go 20 minutes up the road, up 95 to West Palm Beach, I know where to go, you know?
Right.
So I moved down there, start going to the clinic. It was clean for a while. And the things were really good, you know? We were living together. Things were just really good, you know. For the first time in a long time, like, I felt like, okay, I have somebody who cares about me. Like, I got somebody in my corner, you know. And I relapsed. I met with a friend of mine who I had known for years. He just passed away last year as well, from an overdose after 11 months clean, about to have his first year, and overdosed. So like, it's crazy. I have one overdose here, another here. He was shot 8 times, hung himself, killed himself, freshman year died. Another one overdose, like, you know, it's just, but that's what I was used to, you know? So she ended up getting pregnant. I couldn't get my shit together at the time. I had met with my friend, and he was getting high, and he didn't want me to get high, so he tried not to get high around me. But I ended up smoking crack and shooting crack and getting back into heroin. But at this point, it was fentanyl. So now I'm strung out on fentanyl. And, you know, a couple more overdoses happened, and she was pregnant. I went to detox, in and out. And she was like, this is the last fucking time you're going to do this to me. So I went to detox. I came home. I went for a job interview. Somebody had told her that I was getting high. At this particular time, I wasn't.
Right.
So I was really pissed when she confronted me. Of course. So she had every reason to believe it, but I wasn't. So she kicks me out and says, this is it. You know, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm pregnant with your kid. Like, I can't do this, you know? So, and I understood that. And I booked a flight, and I left the same day, and it just ended badly with us. And I went to Pennsylvania, stayed with a friend, overdosed. A couple days later, I was in New Jersey working with a friend of mine, doing like semi truck driving and stuff, and, you know, trying to make money because I was homeless now. And after a couple weeks, I went back to Pennsylvania, went to Philly, spent a bunch of money on heroin because I knew I could get rid of it when I got back to DC, drove from Philly to DC, sold a bunch of heroin. My mom comes to pick me up. I was strung out too. My mom comes to pick me up and says, she has my daughter with her, which I didn't know. And she says, I want you to move back. And I was staying in a hotel. She says, I want you to move back in with us. And I was like, you're fucking crazy. Like, first off, I don't want to live with you, like, because I don't want rules. Second of all, if, like, in my head, I was like, I can't get high if I'm in your house. That's not happening. So she convinced me to move back in. You know.
Now, was your daughter staying with her?
No.
Oh, okay. She just. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, my mom convinced me to help with renovations and help clean up the house and all this stuff. So I was like, you know what? It's free rent. She's like, you can save your money. Like, you'll be able to do this, that, and the third. Just, you know, honestly, like, it was because she knew I was going to die. So I think she didn't want me super far away. I think she just wanted me, if I was going to die, that she just wanted me a little bit closer. That's what I think. They had already picked out a casket and all that stuff. Like, my mom told me that. So they were ready. And I moved back to my mom's. A couple months later, somebody was at my house. They overdosed. And I was charged with falsely identifying myself to a law enforcement officer. I beat that case as well because it was bullshit, but that's when I got clean. They brought me to jail. I bonded out same day. And they said, you got to go see your pretrial officer on Monday. And this was a Friday. I got out early Saturday morning. I said, well, shit, I'm going to fail a drug test. And I don't want to fail a drug test and go to jail over that. If I want to go to jail, I'm going to jail over something serious. And my son was just born, right? Mm-hmm. So my son was born December 20th, right? Not last year.
Right.
2019.
Right.
My son was born December 20th, 2019. So, yeah, I went in, knew I was going to fail. Usually you get the free one. The first one's free, you know. You come back and fail again, they lock you up, right?
Right.
So I said, I don't want to go to jail for this. I don't. I failed. And he said, okay, so when you come in next week, if you fail, you know you violate your pretrial. I said, yeah, you know. And he said, so don't fail. In my head, that's okay, bring in fake pee. You know what I mean? Oh. Like that's where I went. So
don't do drugs, bring in fake pee. Okay.
I got home that day. And for a very long time, I was so sick of living like this. You know, like I was tired of this. Mind you, this is years in the making. I was tired of living like this. I didn't want to do it anymore.
Because you were how old then at that point?
So I'm about to be 34 now. So it's
31?
31, around 32.
Wow.
32, 32,
and you've basically been an addict for 19 years at that point.
Yep.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, I got home and I was like, all right. Every time I go to detox, I don't take medicine. I always kick cold turkey. That's how I've always been like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I
wouldn't say you were crazy. I think that's the way to do it personally, but
I do too.
Anyway,
I do too. And so this time I said, you know what? I told myself, first off, I was depressed. I was hopeless. I was suicidal. I was ready to die. I was trying to overdose with every shot I did. You know, I was broke as fuck. I didn't have any money. My family hated me. They didn't want anything to do with me. I was just lucky enough to sleep in a fucking bed at night.
Right.
And, I was like, I'm going to give myself from now until the time court is over with. Okay. And when court's done, I'm going to get high. That was my thing. I'll get high when court's over with.
Okay. Which was going to be like how long? Was it a couple weeks or?
Supposed to be April. Right? Okay. Not this year. Not this year.
No. I know. But how was that? Like a few months?
At the time, it was 4 months away.
Okay, 4 months. Okay, so you're giving yourself 4 months.
Right. So the next obstacle was, how do I get through the withdrawals? I wasn't going to detox. So something clicked. I don't know. I can't explain it. I just was so fucking tired of it that like, I was like, I'm going to lock myself in the basement and I'm just going to kick cold turkey. And that's what I did. I kicked with no comfort meds. I didn't get the clonidine to help me sleep. I didn't get Seroquel, Trazodone, Suboxone, none of that shit. I just kicked cold turkey. And
this is in your mother's basement, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did she know what you were doing?
Yep.
Okay.
And she was supportive of it. She wanted me to like seek medical attention, but
Right.
I told her if I do that, it's not gonna work.
Right.
So I kicked, and I went through 4 days of like extreme. I was shooting 12 grams of fentanyl a day, so I was sick every hour, maybe hour and a half if it was good. So I was continuously getting high, and I was just over it, and any addict that watches this, that's using or that he was using it and is clean now, knows exactly what I'm talking about, where you wake up every single day and you pray that you die or something happens and you get clean, where you don't have to go through withdrawals,
Right.
Going to bed praying that you die in your sleep so you don't have to live another day like this. Like, that's how it was.
Right.
I literally, like, on my knees praying before I go to bed, God, please just let me die. Please don't let me wake up. It was every day for probably, I don't know, 10 years. Just, God, please don't let me wake up tomorrow. Just let me die in my fucking sleep, please.
Wow.
And I guess the universe had other plans. So
I was going to say, he wasn't ready for you to go, Chris.
Yeah,
I mean, you're still here. Anyway, so now you're in the basement and you are detoxing cold turkey.
Yep, I kicked. I went through 4 days of hell. On the 5th day, I said, okay, I have enough energy to eat, so I'm going to try and eat something. And the best way to get the shit out of your system, because fentanyl, any opiate, is typically, if it's morphine or fentanyl based, it's water soluble, which means the more you sweat, the faster it gets out. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to work out. So I started working out at home first, been used to prison workouts. So working out at home is not a big deal.
Right.
I worked out at home. I started getting healthy. I got back on my diets, because I'm a certified trainer. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I can't be out here skinny looking crazy, So
I'm going to put that before and after picture on the video a couple times so people can get the idea of where you were and where you are now.
That's a rough one too. I look terrible.
Yes, you do, but you look great now. So that's what's important.
Yeah, I just started hitting the gym heavy. That became like my new addiction. But I've always been like that. So when I'm doing well, I'm in the gym. When I fall off, because I'm not in the gym anymore.
Right.
So I got my shit together, and I decided my kids are worth more than what I had been doing. So talking about my kids gets me emotional, because they're like,
absolutely.
They're like the reason. Probably my son, so my daughter too, but like my son is like the reason that I'm still alive.
Right.
And then like I haven't killed myself yet because
and the reason you're clean and sober, maybe?
Yeah, a big part of it, because my dad, I guess I probably should have said this. My dad, I tried to rebuild a relationship with him, and then in 2019 he passed away from cancer. So like that was like a huge blow to me too. So with my son being born the same year, I couldn't let my son grow up the way that I did, like without his dad. Right. So that was another driving factor. So I decided that like whatever it was going to take is what it was going to take. So I've never completed pretrial. I've always violated bonds, and
so that 4-month thing, you never could get to the end of the 4 months, so you never could get high. There you go.
I could never get to the end of a week of pretrial without using. So this is the specific time. My pretrial officer had gotten to the point where she was like, "You don't have to come in. You can call me every week." And then it was every 2 weeks, and then it was every 3 weeks, and I'm like, dude, she wants me to get high. Like, she knows, and she's gonna call me in, and I'm gonna fail. So I was kind of like not wanting to use based on that alone, because I don't.
You could prove her wrong.
Like, right? But at the time, I like didn't trust law enforcement. I thought they were out to get me, like. So
well, to some degree, they might have been. Right. Chris, I'm just saying.
So they. Because of COVID and stuff, my court date got pushed back. So
there goes that 4 months.
right. So I'm like, damn, now I gotta wait longer. And it just so happened that within all jokes aside, like within the first 2 months, I knew that I was done. It was just something in me. Like, I don't believe when they say, there's a million ways for someone to get clean, right? I've done the meetings, I've done that, I've done the spiritual retreats, and I've done, all this stuff. And like, I found what works for me,
Right.
what works for me might not work for the next person, but I do still take principles and ideas from the 12-step programs. Like, like I do take things one day at a time. Right. I do believe in having integrity. I do believe that if I'm not okay, then my relationship with others can't be okay.
Yep.
If I'm not good, then my son can't be good. So, I kind of started working like on a spiritual level, if that makes sense. So
Absolutely.
I'm not a God person, but there's something out there that I believe is bigger than me, and
Yep.
whatever it is has kept me alive.
Yep.
So I decided that, when they say that, an addict is always an addict, and that, you can never say that you'll never use again. I don't believe that. Because
Thank you for saying that, because I don't believe it either, Chris. I don't believe it either.
Because
And when you say you're not a God person, I'm not. I don't mean to invalidate that, but God is whatever it is to you.
Right.
If it's the trees, if it's the sky,
Yep.
if it's the feeling that you get watching your son, okay.
right,
Do you know?
like something bigger than me.
Exactly.
Like, perfect example. So when people say, I don't believe there's something greater than me out there, I tell them, okay, go in the ocean and try to stop a wave.
Mhm.
Can't do it.
That's a good one.
And that's how it was told to me. Go in the ocean and try to stop a wave. Let's see if you can do it.
Yep. I like that.
That's been my mentality. There's something out there, and it's kept me alive, and it's made my life worth living. And just, it took me being, everything I've been through was not enough to get me to stop. So
Right.
What got me to stop was not circumstances, not scenarios, not situations. It was my emotional and mental well-being. It was either kill myself or just fucking really try,
Yep.
So that's what I did. And so in my time being clean, going on 2 years at this time, I've built 2 businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I just bought a brand new car yesterday.
Ooh, what'd you buy?
2020 Camry SE.
Okay.
And
Okay.
good gas mileage. It's safe for my kids. They were
Good.
the first thought in my mind. So,
Right.
I paid upfront, paid cash. So,
And your businesses are bodybuilding businesses, right?
so one of them, okay, so here's where it gets controversial, right? So one of the businesses is the cannabis industry. I don't smoke. However, I have a green thumb, and I'm really good. I've grown vegetables and everything else for a long time. So I decided to try growing CBD, like hemp, right? I got really good at it, and I got offered an opportunity to work for a cultivation center. So that's what I do.
Okay.
I grow plants, and I also work with terminally ill patients who use CBD, CBG, and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
I see
and
medicinal.
let me just say, we are not in favor of legalization of recreational marijuana, but we acknowledge the fact that it is beneficial to people on a medical basis, and
Right.
Somebody's got to
I don't
supply it. So
I don't think that recreational should be legal, because then you're allowing people who are young to get an opportunity to, when you get involved with specific crowds, like you're going to get involved with other crowds. So I don't believe in the gateway drug thing,
right.
but I do believe that the likelihood of somebody being introduced and being peer pressured or curious to try something else is very much there.
Okay.
So,
Well, we could say the same thing. I think it is a gateway drug, and you're kind of sort of saying it only kind of different, and that's okay. And so then, what's your second business?
training. I'm a private trainer. I have been for a very long time. And like,
Do you have people who work for you, or do you just do it on your
I
own?
work
Or
on my own.
okay,
I don't,
okay,
so as far as like the other business goes, yeah, I have a whole group of people.
right.
But with the training, man, I love it. It's
Oh,
so
cool.
like I get to see the difference in people who are 300 pounds and severely obese and same thing, depression and stuff like that.
Yep. Yep.
And within a 6-month time period, these people are looking great and they're feeling good and they're so motivated, and like that stuff kind of keeps me going. Like I get to see
Absolutely.
like helping other people. That's such a big thing, and I don't say that in like a boisterous way, man. Like I really do enjoy helping people. Whether it's through knowledge or like me coaching people through whatever it might be, whether it's fitness, whether it's even like peppers, right? So hot peppers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Growing hot peppers is like a big thing right now. So
Okay.
there's all these crazy, Scotch bonnets, Carolina Reapers, and stuff like that. So like it's like a hobby. Gardening is like a hobby, and for me, that's my peace of mind.
Okay.
The where I get it all out, and then my peace of mind is when I get in the garden.
And do you eat the Carolina Reaper pepper?
No, it's too hot for me.
Okay, yeah, like I was just checking.
Too much.
I might.
Too much. So,
I mean, I could sort of do a jalapeno, but that's my limit. Okay.
right. See, mine would be like, yeah, jalapeno. That'd be about as bad as it goes, But I'm a big fiend for banana peppers, so I make sure that I'm always during the spring and summer that I always have banana peppers growing and stuff like that. So, but yeah, like, coaching people through their first grows and coaching people through their first time ever trying to lose weight or dieting properly. And I don't mean like these crazy fad diets and just all these little crazy, I'm not going to name names, but like these little supplements that people are taking.
Yeah.
And if you eat clean and you exercise regularly and you sleep, you're going to be healthy. It's super easy,
Yep. Well, let me just say, Chris, that very well done on your sobriety. We know from having talked to many recovered addicts that it's not easy.
No.
And, especially not with your history, but your mindset of, like I said, over the ramparts, full speed ahead. It sounds like you, to some degree, excuse me for evaluating, have applied that to your sobriety in the same way that you applied it to your drug use. And we've actually heard that from other recovered addicts who said, you have to approach. You have to approach your sobriety with the same intensity and the same, intention as you did your drug abuse. And I think that, that's why now you have 2 successful businesses and you're living the clean and sober life. So,
and the thing is, like, I've had, those times where like drugs have been put in my face and the thought never even crossed my mind. Like, I firmly believe when you're done, you're done.
Yep.
Because I've had drugs in my face.
Yep.
And been like, get that the fuck away from me.
Yep.
Like it's just not a thing. Like, do I still have drug dreams? Yeah, sometimes. But do they bother me? No.
Right.
Do I still think about it? Not really. And if I do, it's like a really fleeting thought. So the biggest thing that I can say that helped me the most, right? The biggest thing that helped me the most, that if I could tell anybody who's struggling, right, would be that when we have this euphoric recall, where our brains are trained to think of the good from getting high as opposed to the bad, right? Retraining my brain to only think of bad shit about these drugs, not scenarios, not you're going to get arrested, not any of that. It's
right.
You're going to be sick. You're going to be dope sick. You're not going to have any money. You're going to be broke. No one's going to like you. I had to retrain my brain to think of all of the negative feelings that I had to go through, especially at the very end. I keep those in the forefront of my mind every day because like I don't want to go back to feeling like that. I can support a habit. I can do all this stuff. But feeling like that is something I never want to experience again. And that's what keeps me from going back, because I don't want to feel that hopeless depression, never going to get out of this type of mindset. I can't
Right.
I can't do it again.
Well, I think that's a great way to end, Chris. I cannot thank you enough. I mean, you've got, you said in the email you sent us, you said real, raw, no bullshit, and hardcore. That's what your story is. I'm probably going to have to break it into 2 segments, but that's okay. If I listened to the first half, I would definitely want to come back for the second half and find out how it ends. So I just really appreciate you taking the time to tell us your story.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I just have to say, I think that is one of the most raw stories that we've heard on the podcast. Definitely no holds barred. You got to think that if you are an addict, chances are your life has not been that bad. And so if Chris can get clean and sober, hey, so can you. Same thing if you have a loved one who's addicted. If Chris can do it, pretty much anybody can. I mean, yeah. So if you or someone needs to get into treatment, please don't wait. You are important, okay? You are important to at least someone. And if you're not important to anyone I can tell you right now, you're important to me. So get yourself into treatment and get help, and do it now. Don't wait. Thank you for listening. We will be back again next week with another interview.
You have been listening to the Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return. For more information, reach out to us on Facebook or go to www.theaddictionpodcast.com. Our email is theaddictionpodcast@yahoo.com.